Is this in the frame?
Yes. Yes.
Jedes Mal dieser Satz.
There once was a terrible dragon, whose name was climate change. He slept atop a mountain as he'd done for an age, till the king made the call, climb the mount for gold. The dragon gave a scary roar, and out of bed he rolled.
The first lyric in the song immediately solidifies the overall metaphor by referring to this terrible dragon as climate change. Very original. With dragons being large and intimidating mythological creatures, it's clear from the start that climate change is a great danger. A lot of the song's message and lyricism can blend in well with the dragons of inaction. This line is also a metaphor used immediately to set the stage for the story to be told throughout the song, with the mountain being seen as an embodiment of the earth. The king here is a representation of the higher-ups, all the oil companies and immense industries that daily affect the planet and its climate. Making the poor mine for gold is a way of saying that these large corporations are making the general population work in dangerous conditions to generate profit for the wealthy while risking their lives. This parallels how the people who emit the most greenhouse gases are rarely the ones being affected by climate change.
The king lied to the peasants, he blamed the dragon on them, and sold them pointless weapons so he could catch them. But when flames raised the town, the folks saw through his scheme. 'Tis a wood house the dragon burns, but not yours to own keep.
The king, Big Oil, lied to divert the attention of the people from him, obviously the main culprit, to them. We see your carbon footprint, BP. As if the fossil fuel industry isn't releasing more than 2/3 of the greenhouse gases released throughout the world, and the richest 10%, in this context, nobles, if you would, aren't responsible for almost half the global energy-related CO2 emissions. To put this into perspective, the poorest 10% accumulates a measly 0.2%. Pointless weapons, in this case methods to fight climate change, like for example the carbon footprint we probably all know, are based on the individual. Only as a collective can we move the world. This verse refers to the moment that climate change actually affects the people in destructive ways. The latter half of the verse refers to the difference in security and methods of avoidance brought about by different economic status. The top 1% can avoid the disaster far better than the average population because they have the resources from the exploitation of fossil fuels and people whose houses are quite literally being burned down in parts of the world already by wildfires intensified by climate change. In other parts of the world, the disaster takes the form of other elements. Floods, for example, are just as intensely destructive.
The king summoned a mage, he said would end this chapter. He promised a town of spell called direct carbon capture. He could keep the dragon away while the gold forever grew. But soon they found that the mage was just the king's god.
This verse is the beginning to the idea of mitigation and relying on technology rather than changing our ways, aka the dragon called techno-salvation. The king, aka the oil companies, hired scientists, the mages, to do loads of research related to their ventures. His Royal Highness Occidental Petroleum is an advocate for this direct air carbon capture technology, and is building a plant in Texas that's predicted to capture and sequester 1 million tons of carbon in its first year. Julio Friedman, the chief scientist at Carbon Direct, says that it would be impossible to remove enough carbon from the atmosphere without direct air carbon capture. King Big Oil loved to keep the blame dragon off its own back by providing lots of solutions like direct air carbon capture. This, along with the idea of a household carbon footprint, were things that the peasants could focus on, while King Big Oil continued to make his gold. Things like the carbon footprint were backed by scientists, so they seemed like legitimate ways of fighting the dragons of climate change. Problem is, these scientists were funded by King Big Oil and will support his claims in any way they can. The very same company that Julio Friedman worked for, Carbon Direct, is invested in by Quantum Energy. While Quantum Energy invests in environmental energy, it also invests in multiple oil companies. Its true interests are in money, not sustainability. To me, this invalidates Friedman's statement that direct air carbon capture is the only way to get enough carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Scientists who aren't directly tied to oil money don't find direct air carbon capture as important. Mark Jacobson, an atmospheric scientist at Stanford, says that direct air carbon capture is expensive and inefficient, and recommends putting the money into developing environmental energy technology and infrastructure. But that wouldn't help grow King Big Oil's money now, would
The
it?
people marched from town, the horse the king fled. The dragon saw his shiny crown and barbecued his head. Folk shared the kingdom's riches, so they had all they need. The dragon's home was left alone, so he could get some sleep.
The measures the townspeople take to rid themselves of this dragon, marching and overthrowing the head of their government, are not as much a fanciful exaggeration as the rest of the song. What we must do to stop, or at least halt climate change, is to band together and demand, not ask, that our leaders enact swift, powerful action. And if they won't, we must get new leaders that will. Many people think that small personal actions are all that we need. And while they are great, it all means nothing unless we address the true cause of the climate crisis, our entire system of power. The dragon going after the shiny crown and burning the king alive is meant to be a kind of iconoclasm, a smashing of the views we have as to what is valuable and to what gives us the right and the power to control what happens to our earth. Consumerism, this want of shiny things ingrained in us by almost every form of media from the moment we are born, is in large part responsible for bringing the dragon forth. Right now we have more things than ever before, and it has not made us any happier. All it has done is make a few richer than they ever needed to be, and doomed everyone else. Is the dragon the king's fault? 100% yes. Can we stop this? I don't know. But are we powerless? No. And if we do not try to exercise what little agency we have over the situation, then the failure of our world falls in part on our shoulders. People ask what this whole restructuring of society would look like. And if you want to see some potential models, I'd recommend the book Donut Economics by Kate Raworth. I don't know if models like these would result in the joyful, peaceful ending as in the song. No one does. But there's at least a chance that it could work. And what we do know is that our current system doesn't work. Not for us or for the planet. So why not give it a shot?
Lo, the dragon of climate change had come to slay the beast and greed, and that dragon will